Hey guys, how are we doing? Nishan, that sounds awesome. You're going to upload your first video. I've just seen it come from the chat. Let us know. I think you're in the Discord. Let us know when you do. I'll definitely give it a watch. And hello to everyone. Welcome to our weekly live stream. Good to see some of you are already in. Thank you as always for joining us. I think today is going to be quite a fun one. One of my favorite themes of all time. We're doing something kind of slightly different today. It's pretty much the same, but slightly different. We've already got the mock-up done. So we're going to sort of analyze it a little bit. It's not going to be super music theory or anything like that. So don't worry if that's not really your thing. We're still going to be looking at the mock-up element of things, but it's such an incredibly written piece of music and so densely orchestrated in terms of so many different things going on. I think it's just going to be a joy to kind of go through, look at some of the highlights. Then what we're probably going to do is we're probably then going to maybe spruce it up a little bit because this is all written inside of Nucleus. I did this a while ago, and we're maybe going to just spruce up a few elements, add a few extra instruments in here and there. And then maybe if we've got time, we'll write something new. We'll do some original music on the back end, and we'll, they've not given me the chance to score a Jurassic film yet. So I'm taking it into my own hands. I'm just going to write my own little piece at the end if we've got time, because the call hasn't come in from Hollywood. Surprising, I know. But yeah, they gave it to Alexandre Desplat. I don't know who he is. I've heard he's pretty good. No, I'm joking. I'm sure he's going to do an excellent score. He's an incredible composer. It's the Marvel intro. Oh, wow. Amazing. Thank you, Nishan. That's going to be cool. Yes, definitely share it with us because I would love to hear what you guys have done. And I will put my MIDI file up for that very soon. I promise it's all good to go because I know a few of you have asked about the MIDI files. And where possible, we're going to share them, and I can share the Marvel ones, so that's going to be cool. But yes, definitely share that with us. That's going to be great. So excited to hear what you guys do, whether it's original music covers, whether you take stuff that we do and add your own thing to it, whatever you're doing. We can't wait to hear. And yeah, thank you so much for sharing everything with us. So yeah, we're doing the Jurassic Park theme today, one of my absolute favorite themes. Partly because of childhood nostalgia, partly because it's an incredibly written theme, partly because John Williams is one of my very favorite composers. It's just such a beautiful theme, and I'm really looking forward to sort of going through it today. Another interesting fact about this theme, which we'll maybe go into a little bit more detail later on, but during COVID, I if you remember COVID now and the lockdowns and all of that stuff, I bought Nucleus because I've been looking for some new orchestral stuff for a while, and I thought it sounded great. There was just something about the sound of Nucleus, and to this day there still is Nucleus and Jaeger, that just has that real cinematic sound. It really goes to 11, where some libraries, there's a lot of great libraries out there, but some never quite get where you'd want them to go in terms of the dynamic range and the sort of power and the cinematic presence of playing. I always thought Nucleus had that, so I bought it, and I mocked this piece up, and I don't know what possessed me to do it, but I sent it into Audio Imperia, I think along with Robin Hood as well. And I didn't hear back for ages. I didn't send it in for any reason. I think in the back of my head, I was thinking maybe they'll let me do a demo for them at some point if they release another library or something. And I didn't hear back, and I kind of almost forgot about it. And then out of the blue, I got a message back. And in a crazy way, that's what led me on this entire journey to becoming part of the Audio Imperia team, which has been genuinely, one of my professional highlights and personal highlights too. They're great guys, great team. There's nothing better than just hanging out with other musicians, geeking out about film soundtracks and stuff. So yeah, Jan very graciously got me involved, and it was one of the best decisions I ever made. And I've got to thank you so much, Jan, for getting me involved on the whole Audio Imperia journey. It's been incredible so far, and I know, everything that's coming up in the future is going to be so exciting as well. So yeah, this piece also has that sort of special memory for me as well, that actually randomly did this during COVID lockdown. First time I'd ever sent anything to any sample libraries. I don't really know why I did it, but it led me on this crazy journey, which has been just incredible. It's been one of the highlights, as I say, of my kind of composing and music career. So yeah, that's another interesting thing about this piece too. So I think what we'll do is we'll get into this pretty quickly today because there's actually quite a lot we could cover. I mean, we're not going to get everything done in 2 hours. As I say, we may not even get to the composing part. we're just going to sort of play it by ear. And if you guys have any questions, if you have any suggestions, if you want us to move on to anything in particular, or look at anything in particular, fire it all in the chat. As always, if you're not subscribed, please do, because, you know, it's great to have all the subscribers and be able to let you know when we're going live and we've got new videos up. So do give us a subscribe, and also sign up to our Discord if you're not, because that is a place that's growing quite rapidly now. And I've got ideas on how I want to try and take that forward and make it more active. But we've already got some incredible community stuff going on there, including a lot of great tracks that people are posting up that they've made themselves, whether it's original music or mock-ups of other pieces of music. It's so cool to hear what you guys are doing. Like, it's really, it's one of the biggest joys of doing this is, you know, when you hear the instruments that you help work on or that you were a small part of, and you just hear, you know, what people are doing with them. And they're, you know, some people are doing some incredible stuff, and yeah, it's a real buzz. It's like, you know, it's like if you ever worked on a commercial or trailer or something, you hear music up on the screen, you're like, this is so cool. This is, you know, something that I did, but now it's up there being part of something bigger. That's what it's like when you guys send us the demos, because it's like we try to make this stuff and try to make it so that you guys can make cool stuff, and then we see the cool stuff you make and we're like, this is great. You know, this is exactly what we were trying to do, was make cool stuff that you guys could use to do your own amazing things with it. So I think there's no housekeeping as such, no major announcements or anything, not for today at least. So I think we shall move over to the door and get started with this. Let's head over here. There we go. So here we are, Jurassic Park, a live stream 65 million years in the making. I've been waiting all day to use that terrible joke. Oh, thank you very much, Ollie. Thank you. This is Ollie. Ollie's also part of the team. Ollie was here before me, so when I joined, Ollie was already a fixture. But it's been great getting to know Ollie and John and Tom and all the rest of the guys, Jan as well, of course. And as I said, it's just so cool, you know, like, it's such a weird journey how it all worked out. And that's how it often is with these composing things. Like, so many things don't work out, but then the things that do work out, you look back and you're like, how did this happen? It was just a random email or a random meeting or something you did 4 years ago that someone heard and they liked. And, you know, like, everything feels very, very fragile in a good way, because sometimes things don't work out and that can bum you out a bit. But then when they do work out, you look and you realize, that's just how life goes, isn't it? You know, it's all fragile. Sometimes you think it's not working out, then it suddenly turns around and it does. Sometimes it can go the other way too, but, you know, that's life, and you kind of learn to roll with those punches. But this has definitely been an absolute highlight over the last few years for me. It's been great. So here we go, the Jurassic Park theme. I've already done this. As I said, we're going to probably try and, you know, sort of use some other libraries to maybe soup certain parts of it up. I did this all on Nucleus because at the time, I think it was maybe not the only library by Audio Imperia I used, but I think I wanted to use one library to really just see what could be done with one library. And I think Nucleus sounds great. And you can get an incredible amount out of Nucleus. You know, it doesn't have huge articulation lists or anything like that, but I actually think sometimes that's a strength, because the sound is there, the feel and the tone and the playing is there. And when you bring it all together, I think you can really get some really great results out of it. Hey, Brandon. No problem. Yeah, you drop in. And like I said, if you want to check the rest out afterwards, you can. But thank you so much for joining us in the time before work. So we really appreciate everybody that comes and joins us. It's always great fun to hang out with you guys, you know, so thank you for joining us, Brandon. So yeah, this is all Nucleus, what you're about to hear. It's the Jurassic Park theme. The reason it sounds good is because it's written by the master, and the orchestration is beautiful, as we're going to see as we go through this. And I didn't have to do a lot to make this sound good, because you're going to see the power of good writing as we go through this today. And you're going to realize most of it's in the writing. You know, yes, mock-up skills are important and MIDI skills are important, but if you've got a good library and a good composer, or, you know, more importantly, the good composer who can orchestrate and do this stuff well, it kind of just comes to life on its own, really. Hey, Nicholas, thank you for joining us. So here we go, the Jurassic Park theme, all rendered on Audio Imperia Nucleus 1 library. Here we go. Cool. Jurassic Park theme. Still just gives me goosebumps to this day. Such a good theme. So we've pretty much mocked it up. This was done a couple of years ago. I had a look at it before we did this stream. But yeah, it's such a good theme, and it kind of just writes itself when you're putting it together. I used sheet music, because I know a couple of you have asked previously about How to Train Your Dragon. Did I use sheet music? Yes, and same with this one. So all of these orchestrations are John Williams orchestrations, and I think it just goes to show that when something is orchestrated well, it just kind of lifts off the page and it just comes to life with not much programming. And it's a shame this didn't actually take too long. Maybe 4 to 6 hours, maybe 6 hours, I would say, because there wasn't that much to do, really. Nucleus is an all-in-one orchestra, so pretty much it all kind of is self-contained and self-mixed. I did do a little bit of mixing, but you don't have to do a lot. Added some reverb. There's a bit of programming here and there, but not crazy amounts, because again, it's just so well written that you don't have to do ridiculous things to get this to work. Thank you, Brandon. And hello, Makasin. Thank you for joining us. Yeah, so this just, as I say, it just writes itself because, it's just so well put together. So what I thought we'd do is concentrate on some of the kind of theory of this today. But again, we're not going to go super in depth. You can see at the top, I've written down the chords. We're not going to go through everything in glorious detail, because I think, that would just be a bit too much and a bit too academic. But we're just going to look at the way that some of this is written and put together, because I think it's just a beautiful piece of music, and not just to listen to, but the more you dive into it, the more you kind of realize how well written and how beautifully put together this is. So maybe let's just go through this sort of bit by bit, and we're going to have a little look at each section and talk a bit about it. And if you guys have any questions, anything you want to hear separately, anything you want to dive into in more detail, let me know, because that's what these streams are all about. This real-time ability to say, hey, let's look at the French horns or the strings, or what's going on here, or how did you do that, or how did John Williams write this? That's what we're going to try and do today, is just really dig into this, because we're very lucky to live in a world and a time when we can just analyze scores like this, mock them up on incredible libraries, and just dig in and see what's working. Okay, so this all starts in B flat major, as you can see. Instantly some incredible chords here. Without getting too technical today, we're in a mode in this piece of music. Now, you might have heard of major scales and minor scales before. We all know a major scale, and we all know a minor scale. And the really broad thing about them is, major scale sounds kind of happy and a more upbeat. Minor scale tends to sound sadder. But they're not the only two scales that you can use. There are different scales that you can use to build music with, and they're called modes. And there's different modes. There's, I think, a lot of them. There's Locrian and Phrygian and Lydian and Mixolydian, and each one is a different pattern. We go into this in the Modern Composer Blueprint, so we talk a bit more about modes there and how they're created. But broadly speaking, they're scales, but they're put together with different patterns than the minor and the major scales, subtle differences. Now, there's a type of mode called the Lydian mode. And the difference with the Lydian mode, let me just show you. If I bring this up, I can show you guys. Let's do a C major scale, which is all the white keys from C to C. There we go. The Lydian has something called a sharpened fourth. So the fourth note or fourth degree of the scale is sharpened by one. So you have C, D, E, F, G. In a Lydian scale, it would be C, D, E, F sharp, G. That F sharp just raises things and creates this incredible, beautiful, kind of hopeful scale. So if I was to play something in C major, super, super simple. If I play the same thing in Lydian, see how it just sounds kind of more kind of hopeful and beautiful, and kind of, it's got this kind of childlike quality to it. Yeah. Oh, thank you, by the way, Sound Chip. Yeah, I think Nucleus sounds great for this. So yeah, basically the beginning of this piece is written in Lydian. That's what we're trying to get to here. It's written in this type of mode that has this more hopeful, kind of bold, exciting, childlike, fantasy-like quality to it. I think it's such a clever choice, because this is a film about dinosaurs, and obviously you've probably all seen Jurassic Park. It all gets a bit dark and scary and, you know, dystopian. But emotionally, the thing that John Williams chose to focus on, which I think makes so much sense, is, you know, the wonder and the childlike quality. It's like, you know, like if you were an adult and you saw dinosaurs, you'd feel like a kid again. And I think that John Williams has figured that he thought that's what people would feel like if they see dinosaurs. They're going to feel like little children. It's going to be magical. That's the part I need to focus on. So if you make it too dark, even though the film gets dark in places, if you make it too dark, you're not going to really be able to capture the underlying idea of Jurassic Park, which is, you know, someone trying to build this wonderful idea and it all goes wrong, because lots of wonderful ideas do go wrong. But the underlying thing is that feeling of, wouldn't it be cool to live in a world with dinosaurs and be able to see dinosaurs? And I think that that's what John Williams has tried to underscore here. So we're in Lydian, we start in B flat. And that's a great chord. That's a typical Lydian chord there. This B flat, and then a C major over B flat. So we have, there you have this G minor, D minor with the F in the bass, and then E flat major. Beautiful stuff. And then the second time round, really cool as well. We have the G minor again, the F minor with the F in the bass, and then a D major. We sort of modulate back to the G minor, then back to the E flat, and then a really interesting chord, this A suspended chord. So we're roving around keys here. We're not sticking strictly to one key. This is written like most film scores with no key signature, so it doesn't have to adhere to any kind of rules. And you'll see that as we go on. John Williams really doesn't. He lets this kind of rove and be magical, you know, and it never. It sometimes it surprises you where it goes, but it always feels right somehow. So beautiful Lydian start to this. Really nice stuff going on here. Obviously, the key driver here is this trumpet. This trumpet theme is iconic. It's legendary now, and that's where everything is here in the trumpet. Hey, Right Stone Studio, thanks for tuning in. I think Nucleus just sounds great. I love the legatos in Nucleus. This kind of sound here. It's got that real rip up to those notes, and you can hear it in the descending stuff here. Just sounds so cool to me, and it's the perfect sound for this. So the brass altogether is just playing this nice big strident melody in the trumpets with the trombones and the low brass supporting. Just sounds so cool to me. Then you got this nice section here. Just sounds great. And here I think is where we can maybe just make some small but subtle improvements here, because Nucleus sounds beautiful, but I think if we layer it with Dolce, we're going to get something more realistic and more emotional sounding in the strings. So that's what I think we're going to do here today. Maybe we'll just start by doing that. So I've already got Dolce loaded. Got the violins one. Let's find the legato. So it's going to be here somewhere. Let me have a little look and see. There it is. Dolce legato. So I've got it good to go. So this is going to be really straightforward to start with. We're just going to see if we can take this little line here. So what I'm going to do is copy all this down to the legato line. We don't need any of this stuff up to here. So let's just take it all out. Let's just mute it all. We don't need any of the key switches because this is all just legato on one track. Let's have a little listen. Might help if I unmute. Beautiful. So just has this slightly more ringing emotional quality that I think you'd want for something like this. And this is a good sort of lesson in layering today. I think we've done this a little bit. Shout out to Lydian. I agree. It's a beautiful mode. John Williams uses it a lot. And I think we discussed last week about how Dolce has these same note re-triggers that just sound great to me. If I just make that slightly bigger here, so we can see how you get that beautiful same note trigger there by using the sustain pedal. I've just written it in here. When you play the same note, but you use the sustain pedal on Dolce or Dolce Light, you get the re-trigger. You get it like the player's playing from the different bow angle, you know, up, down, bowing kind of thing. And it just adds so much life to this. We can do the same thing here. You can do the same thing for this one note and just lift this up. There it is. So. Same thing here. We got a little double note here. These are things that, you know, a lot of libraries can't do. Nucleus doesn't have this feature. It sounds absolutely fine on Nucleus. You heard it. It sounds great. You don't need it, but it just adds these little touches that can really enhance the score. So if I just make a little gap here. Beautiful. And that's all I think we need here, because the violins and the strings back down at that point. You can see goes this kind of interesting line here, but I don't think we need Dolce to play any of that. I'm going to mute it all. Yeah, let's just go up to there for now and make sure that one's muted too. So it's just this line here. And because Dolce is a slightly more detailed library, it has more dynamic layers, we can swell a bit more with this library. So I'm going to do that here. Cool. Maybe just back that off slightly so it doesn't jump out too much. Nice, and just make sure it's ringing out clearly there. There we go. And we need to link that over there. Hey, Salvatore, thank you for joining us. Yeah, so same thing here. Just going to make sure that's all linking. We want this all legato. Hey, Peter, thanks for coming back. Cool. So this is what we have. Let me just, yeah, let's just bring our mixer up here. So what I can do now is just back this nucleus down a tiny bit at this point. At the beginning, it's obviously taking full power because it's the only strings or the only first violins. So it's going to be a subtle difference, but it's just going to add a bit more kind of realism. Let's just check in the chat. One of my favorite modes is Lydian Dominant or Lydian Flat 7. Yep, fourth mode of the melodic minor. You have both of the nearest modality of the circle of fifth representative. Sounds so cool. I agree. There's some really, really good. Yeah, do you guys have favorite modes or favorite keys? Do you have things that you like to work in? It's a really interesting one, Brandon. I'm definitely going to check that one out in more detail. I've always loved Lydian as somebody that kind of came from that cinematic background. Mixed Lydian's very cool as well, can sound quite heroic. So it's just adding this kind of slightly more aching quality. If I just mute Dolce in and out. Subtle, and I'm just going to do a tiny little bit of EQ here. Violins can sometimes get a bit scratchy around this kind of 2-3K mark. If I just sort of mute nucleus. You can sound a bit close and a bit scratchy and weird. Taking it out a bit can just help push it back in the mix a tiny bit, makes it sound a bit more cinematic, for want of a better word. You don't want to go too much, obviously you'll lose it, but there we go. Okay, cool. So that sounds pretty good to me. Nice, that sounds pretty good to me. It's just added a tiny bit more realism and depth to that line. And we don't need to do it with the second violins, I don't think, because the focus is really going to be on the first violins playing that top melody. And also I think the cello as well. I think the cello we could definitely do too. So as you can see here, I've got my nucleus cello. Sound really good to me. But again, we can just use a bit of Dolce. I'm pretty sure I've got it up here ready to go. Yep, here's one I prepared earlier. I'm going to do exactly the same thing. Make sure it's lined up. We're going to take everything out from the beginning other than that little section that we want. And then we shall sort of get rid of some of this as well, because I know we don't need any of this, at least not right now. And then we'll focus on, hey, Symphonic. Hey, Tristan. Good to see you. It is such a fantastic score. Yeah, I agree. Lydian's a huge favorite. Dorian. I'm only ever stuck with my... yeah. I mean, it's a classic. It's a classic trailer. Epic chord sequence. It is. The man, the myth, the legend. Yes, Tristan's with us. Okay, let's have a little listen to Dolce's cello. Let's just get rid of all these key switches so we don't confuse ourselves. We don't need key switches with Dolce because every patch is on its own sort of instrument, if that makes sense. So, you know, legato is one instrument and we don't key switch between them with Dolce. So we can... Same thing here, right? We're just getting some more realism in the playing. We're getting a little bit more of the legato quality. We can use some of the rebos here as well. I don't know why we have two modulations there. We don't need two modulations. We don't need to worry for that. No, let's just change that to a sustain. There we go. Okay, so let's look for our rebos here, or the points where we have two notes playing where we want a kind of rebo-like phrasing. So... Cool. Thank you so much for joining us, Brandon. Yeah, thank you. It's been great to have you with us. And yeah, hopefully you better check it the rest when you're back home from work. Have a good day at work. Good to see you. Same thing here. We just want a little re-trigger there. Definitely want it there. You can hear. So this is a good example of, let's play it. It doesn't say, it's machine gun's not really the right word, but it's just you can really hear a re-trigger. Now they should, watch this not work. I'm sure it's going to work, but I always get worried when I'm promising something. They should. Yeah, see how we just got smoother action, but there's still distinction. Same thing there. We can just smooth that over. If I played this in, I'd be pushing the sustain pedal down, but I'm not. And here we have some funky stuff going on. So you might want to keep it here. I might keep it there because it's going to add a bit more to these lines. I mean, this is just these beautiful lines that John Williams writes. I mean, listen to this in context. Just so the way that these cellos just dance in with this melody. Beautiful. You just don't get much writing like that these days. I mean, there are some composers that still do it, but this interplay between, you know, one melody and something going on in a counter melody, between something happening in the violins and something happening in, you know, the cello or whatever it might be. But it's just so good. Have a listen. Hey, congratulations, Nishan. That's great. Yeah, more time for composing sounds great to me. So let's see. I'm just going to back off the modulation here. Same thing here. You can do quick modulation curves. Da-da-da. That's true. By the way, for you guys that don't know, Tristan is a wonderful composer, but also orchestrator as well. He really knows his chops when it comes to orchestrating, far, far better than me. So definitely, while Tristan's in the chat, pay attention to what he's saying, because yeah, he's very good at this. And I agree. Yeah, it's just everything moves, everything evolves, nothing is left behind, nothing is just, you know, chugging away on 16th notes for 3-4 minutes or anything. And there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, look, there's certain types of music need that, and that's how they function. But I just love it when a composer's got a complete, you know, mastery of what they're doing, and every instrument is just, you know, so well written. And John Williams and Jurassic Park's a perfect example of that. So same thing here. We've just added, there's some sense of movement and life about Dolce that just, even if it doesn't sound 100% totally realistic, there's something about the life of it that just, while it's working with the rest of the instruments, helps to give more emotion. Sometimes that's all you need. It's not necessarily you need the absolute most perfect representation of the performance. Sometimes you just need to feel something about the life of the line, you know, and I think Dolce is great at getting that, you know, even if it's not always absolutely and completely spot on how a musician would play a certain line, I find it just adds a kind of real emotional depth to it. See what I mean? And same thing here. And then at this point, we'll probably head back more towards the nucleus territory. But this is a great way you can just blend libraries and make these work. Oh, no, my pleasure, Tristan. Yeah, it's yeah, thank you for joining us. Always good to get your thoughts on these things. So again, nucleus sounds lovely, but with Dolce, just sells you the idea that there's players there somehow, you know, more. That's a beautiful moment there. I mean, here you go. This kind of writing is just genius, right? Look at that. Just this little line in the horns just to finish this phrase off. So you have these horns playing chords. Then a little descending line here. Just that moment there, that octave. D, up to the D and down. And again, I think that nucleus is so good at that kind of little rip up there. Just sounds so good. Again, it's not necessarily about realism, about actually truly what a musician would play. Sometimes it's just about life and energy. That's what I love about nucleus so much. It has a real life to it sometimes. And that's a perfect example there, I think. Can't explain it. Even if it's not literally what happens in the score, something about that captures the energy of the score at that point, I think. And such an incredible, just these little lines all over the place. I mean, as we go through this, you'll see so many of them. I mean, look at that in the tuba. What's going on here? This little descending bass line. That's incredible. Just, I think that's paired with the basses. And then you have this sort of counter melody thing going on in the cello. Just sounds so cool. So good. This is a section I want to talk about because this is where brilliant writing trumps mock-up skills, or you know, if it's well written, it will nearly always sound good, even when you dissect it and you realize some parts maybe don't sound quite like you think. To me, this little section sounds great. I think that's helped partly by this beautiful nucleus solo oboe, which sounds incredible to me. But here's what's interesting. There's a string accompaniment at this point, and it sounds pretty weird on its own. Let me just play you the violins at this point, and you're going to realize they don't sound that good by themselves. Right? When I was programming this, I was like, because I started with the strings, I remember all that way back then, I was like, oh, this is not going to sound great. You know, at this point, it's starting to maybe not sound the way I want. But as I laid it up, I realized, again, good orchestration trumps it, because when everything else is in place and you've got this beautiful little harp, and then you've got these lovely little trombone chords to hold things together. They're just gluing everything together, and you've got all this great stuff going on in the cello and obviously in the woodwinds here. It all just blends in. You don't really hear it, but you feel the movement of it. Hey, Dima, that's a good question. And the answer is no, that was just the way it was recorded and the way it was kind of put together. Honestly, the way I get around that is just by boosting. You can see my Dolce here. I literally just boost the gain. And I find that it's fine. You know, there's a little bit more noise in Dolce because we basically we made it with the great Jasper Performance Samples. It's a co-produced library. He works a certain way to capture these things, and he really captures the kind of rawness and the beauty of these instruments. And as a result, the way that the library was recorded was slightly quieter. But you can just boost it in mixes. It will be absolutely fine, I find. And you sometimes get a little bit more noise than maybe other libraries, but that's very much part of the whole philosophy of this, is to sound very kind of natural, very real, very kind of lively and things like that. And you could do certain things if you want to EQ bits and pieces out to maybe reduce some of that noise. But for me, I usually just end up putting this stuff in and just boosting the gain. You can see same thing here. I'm just boosting it to roughly match with nucleus. And again, sometimes when I'm using Dolce, I'm layering it with other libraries, which can help smooth it out if you need to, in terms of if it's a little bit noisy or something. But no, it's not a mistake. It was sort of done by design that way, and that was all to do with the way the library was developed and conceived and put together. Hello, Jandra. Thank you very much for joining us. Yeah, so I hope that helps. But no, it's not a mistake. There's nothing wrong with the library. That's how it's sort of been put together. And sometimes you have to turn the volume up a bit. I do appreciate that, but that's all part of the library. And I've used it lots in different projects, and it's always sort of worked fine if I'm just boosting the volume, and then maybe doing a little bit of EQ if I need to get it into the mix the way I want it. No problem. Thank you very much for your questions. As I say, we're always here to help, whether it's questions about mockups or anything like that. And it's a good question. It's definitely something that's true about the library. But yes, it's not a fault or a problem. You have a perfectly normal working copy of Dolce, and I'd love to hear what you do with it. So if you're writing anything with it, do share it with us in our Discord or tag us, and we will definitely take a listen, because Dolce is one of my favorite libraries, and I love hearing what people do with it. And I haven't heard too much of other people using it. So it's great that you've got it, and I would love to hear anything you do with it. It's definitely one of my favorite libraries. So yeah, we were just talking about this slightly dodgy sounding, and this is the thing about mockups. Not everything has to sound, to me with mockups, the energy is more important than the reality of things. That's again why I love Nucleus and why I think it works so well with this. It's all about the energy. Take it at face value. Definitely not how real string players would play this line. But because it's so well put together, thanks to John Williams, in the mix, it works fine. More great writing here. Again, on its own, maybe doesn't sound as realistic and perfect as it could do. We have a combination of these notes here. Just this lovely kind of phrase. And then to get a sense of the kind of, you know, wavering quality of this, I put this line in as well. This is actually, I think, no trills, if I remember rightly, no trills in Nucleus. Again, I thought, oh, I'm not sure if this is going to work, but it's so well written. A layering of these two things sounds pretty good. And in the combination with the rest of the instruments, again, helped by these beautiful strings, woodwinds. Need to learn my instruments better. And then, of course, the main stuff is going on inside of the brass here, which is where you hear all the great kind of melodic stuff. This is very Stravinsky-like. If you guys like your classical music, this little section always reminds me of like something that you might hear in Petrushka or something. I love that line in the horns there. That's just such a good line. Let's have a look at that. So you've got these. Let's just turn them up a tiny bit. Such core writing. Have a listen how it just peaks out at the end. And it combines with the trumpets. Just great. Oh, let's have a put the actual horns on. See how they kind of play off each other? You get a kind of little phrase in the horns, then the trumpets play off that. Here's another good technique in the beginning. The first phrase of this, we just have the trumpets at the very beginning of the piece. So this part here. Just trumpets playing the melody. Then we have this big middle section here where we build up. So let's go here. The next statement of our theme, but at this point, like all great musicians and composers, John Williams knows it can't just be the same thing all over again. You have to do something different with this. He does several things different. The first thing is, this is now in octaves with the horns. Such beautiful writing, you know, you just instantly made it more powerful and stick out a bit more. And then to make it interesting, you then have these incredible moments in the bass here. And this is just great writing. I mean, it's just so clever. Listen how the melody, the rhythm and the kind of accompaniment in the low end changes slightly here. Cuts out. Just a genius. It's just genius. Listen how it cuts out. Goes. This time, again, really interesting. So the second time around of the theme, horns and trumpets. Really clever. The third time, actually weirdly, rather than going up and bringing in woodwinds and high strings, whatever, it actually kind of comes down. So how does it sound more impactful? Well, there's a couple of things going on here. The first thing is, this time the melody is in kind of harmony here. Listen. We have this, which is the melody. But in the strings, we have this same thing going on in the melody, but it's kind of harmonized. There we go. And play it again, you'll hear it. So really clever to make this sound more exciting at this point. This harmonization of the melody just adds more complexity to it, makes it more interesting, freshens it up a bit, and it's all done on these strings. Just brilliant. And then you have the horns. So clever. And of course, the big secret sauce here, if you look at our chords at the top, we have a key change. Such an incredible, genius key change. So here at this point, we're all in B flat. You know, we have these. So then we have this crazy E flat. Let me just bring up here to our suspended. Where do you go from here? Absolutely nowhere you'd imagine to this D flat. It's such an incredible key change. In some ways, there isn't a huge amount of logic behind it, other than it's just the perfect blend of surprise and familiarity and resolution, right? It's not anything, you know, you didn't maybe expect it to. You could maybe go back to the B flat like it does at the beginning, but we've already heard that. You could go. Doesn't really work. You could have maybe done that, but it doesn't really work. I just think such a wonderful key change. And I don't know how John Williams would come up with this stuff. I guess maybe he would literally just fiddle around until he found something that worked, something that felt the way he wanted it to. But that's such an incredible key change there. And that key change, that surprise, is what makes this section sound more powerful, even though in theory, it's come down a bit. You know, this section is more intensely orchestrated in some ways. Look what's going on here. So we have these crazy woodwind things going on. These beautiful chords. Now, with just a few little runs. But everything simplifies, and yet somehow it sounds so much more exciting. Just genius, you know, this is like symphonic writing, you know, like all the great masters of orchestral music in the past, they were masters because they could take a theme and just make it work over and over again through key changes, through things like retrograde, you know, in other words, reversing the theme or splitting the theme up, or one section of the theme followed by a counter melody or something. They were masters of telling a story with simple themes. This is exactly what John Williams is doing here. It's the same theme over and over again, you know, well, not over and over, but 2 or 3 times, but each time something about it is just fresh and new and brilliant. This is one of my favorite sections of this. It's just, I don't even know where you'd begin to come up with this idea. I don't know how anybody's mind thinks, oh, this is what needs to happen at this point. But listen to this. Here we go. Just bonkers. I mean, it's crazy. Peter's saying, oh, dude, this is one of my favorite techniques ever, playing your strongest statement theme in a lower octave. It's so clever. It's so clever. It's just a brilliant idea. Starve does the same thing. Yep. There's a few techniques that we'll look at in a moment that John Williams does quite often in his career that are really worth remembering, and we'll sort of go through in a minute. But this little section here is just crazy. So what we have going on here, let's have a little look and see. So let's go back here. So we have this. Absolutely bizarre, but brilliant. So we have A to B major to D, and then we have this beautiful chord here, which is basically a C6 sus2. Now, don't worry if you don't know what that is, but it's such an incredible, it's basically this suspended D, but then in the lower, we almost have like the root and the fifth of a C. So it's almost like, but in the upper hand, absolutely just incredible writing. You just don't get stuff like this that much these days. And it's just so beautiful when you hear things like that. And then where do we go from there? Another kind of key change at this point. I mean, really, we're not in any key. You can't really put A major, B major, D major, and C6 sus2 into any coherent key. But we sort of land in somewhere new at this point. We haven't really been in E flat major, but we're sort of in E flat major at this point. So again, I mean, just listen to that section again. I just think it's so good we have to hear it again. It's kind of like don't know how you describe it really, but it's this little kind of, it's, you know, interlude section in a way. But the genius thing, we've already heard this. But now we have it in this key. But we've already heard this melody earlier on. If we have a listen here, let's go and have a listen to this. So we've already heard that before, if you remember, it's here. But we have it come up again, but in a different key, doing a slightly different thing. So that is here. Where are we? Let's go find it. There it is. Again, another great technique of reusing melodic material to get us, you know, back to places that feel familiar, but in a new sense. So it's familiar, but it's not familiar. We're in a different place, but we feel kind of satisfied by that. Incredible. So yeah, we have this. Let's bring this back up. Then we get to this beautiful. And then where do we go from there? C major. This is what you might call a chromatic median from that E. Does that sound sort of familiar? So these are techniques that John Williams likes, these chromatic medians. And we've done the same thing here. We've gone, and then we've gone a third down from major down a third to another major chromatic median. Beautiful key change. Same thing again. Just a different, we've heard it before, but just a different way of doing this. So we bring it down at this point, have a bit of lightness, beautiful chords. So we sort of end on that F. Beautiful key change there from the F to the A7 and to the D minor. Absolutely beautiful, just good old fashioned. It's like a pop song. It's like something the Beatles would do almost, you know. And then beautiful writing in the strings there. You have those chords played in the high strings. Just sounds absolutely great. And it sounds better now because we got Dolce doing it. Have a listen to how Dolce sounds doing that. Just simple, but it just sounds slightly better than Nucleus. It sounds absolutely fine in Nucleus, but I think Dolce, it's very, very, very kind of subtle, but it just adds some extra life to it. Then I just want to concentrate on this section here, then we'll maybe get to writing something. But this is another beautiful set of chords. You've got this C major with the E in the bass, then you've got this G add 11th, F add 11th, and then this C6-9 chord. Absolutely incredible. So it's sort of this. And then finish with this C6-9, which is, and then we go to that F. Just beautiful chords. I mean, you can hear them in the brass here. Let's just take out the horns and listen to the actual chords themselves. Just pure John Williams, those kinds of chords sound so cool. And then all that's happening here is you have this F pedal note. Let's come up here. Then you have these different chords. Or what is it? If I can remember. Let's have a little look and see what it is. I've got this part here. So it is E flat. Ah, yes. Okay, so it is F, we have and then at the end we go back to the C major for the final. So it's just different chords over F. Now we covered this before, pedal notes. You could take a pedal note like an F and just play different chords over it and it'll create this sense of tension. That's all John Williams was doing here. Beautiful writing. So cool. So cool. Okay. Shall we do a little bit of writing? Should we just get into doing a Jurassic Park underscore like thing with the last arrow that we've got here and just take this, and it's going to be mostly with nucleus. You might sprinkle in a little bit of, you know, Dolce or Poseidon or something here. But I think it'd be cool to kind of write something at this point. What should we do? Chat, help me out here. We're making our own Jurassic Park film. We've had the opening sequence. We're deciding we're going to use the main theme for the opening sequence. What do we do? Do we do something dark? Do we do something beautiful? Do we do something brooding? Do we do something menacing? Do we do something romantic, haunting? I don't know. You tell me. What do you think we should go? Let's maybe cut it at this point. Maybe do something different there, and we'll go into some kind of underscore. That's what I think we're going to do today. Yeah. I don't know how exactly we're going to cut. Let's have a little listen. Maybe we'll cut there. Maybe tension because the dinos are going to escape. You read my mind, Peter. I agree with you. I'm thinking that maybe we could... And then maybe we can go to that F, but do something different here. Yeah, let's maybe have a little think about this. So we have this... Yeah, let's maybe just go to that big F. So here we go. But we need to do something different here. Okay. Let's have a think about this. Cool. So I think what we're going to do is a big low brass here. Big stab. Just like a 4 stab. Maybe we'll do an 8 actually. Can we get down? Yes, let's get down here. We'll bring it sort of down. Like this. Hey Andy. Hey Nishane, thanks for coming back. And don't worry if you're late. If you missed anything that you want to catch up on, all this will be available afterwards. So what I think we're going to want to do here is start getting rid of this. Not too much. We were just going through some of the John Williams genius stuff. Just what an incredible composer he is and looking at some of the techniques that he uses. So you didn't miss too much. If there's anything you want to go back and have a little look at, we can. But now we're just sort of writing some extra underscore. As I said, they won't give me a Jurassic Park film to do, so I'm just going to do it myself. Nice. Okay. And same thing here. Let's just get rid of this for now. Now, what we're going to want for this is a kind of build up in the timpani, I think. So around here, just going to put these key switches in. This is going to give us a roll. I definitely think we're going to want a nice roll up here. Something like that, but we'll maybe bring it in later. Kind of don't want to bring it all in too early. Something like that, I think. Okay, cool. Let's see, what have we got here? We've got our Grand Casas from Jaeger. I think we can use them. So let me have a little look in here. Let's see. Let's bring in like a 4-second. Nice. Maybe a 2-second roll instead. Let's bring that up. Turn that one off. This was made just using Nucleus. Yeah, we've added a couple of bits throughout the stream, but not much really. We just did a little bit more with the strings here and there with Dolce, but it's all Nucleus, and we're maybe going to use a couple of other things to do the rest as underscore, but I think 99% of it's going to be Nucleus. But yeah, this is all Nucleus. Okay. I think Nucleus is just such a great library, got such a good vibe to it. Yes, that's what we want. Pure cinema. This is when the film begins, you know, we get the end of the credits or whatever, and we pan down on our dyno pad. I don't know if Jan is with us, actually. He said he might join us, but I don't know if he is with us just yet. Maybe he will be able to clock in soon, or if he is with us, he will say hello. Do you know any websites with orchestral soundtrack in MIDI format to improve skills in orchestral programming? I don't, I'm afraid. It's a real shame. As I said, we're going to start making some of these files available on our Discord. So hopefully that will help if you guys want to dig into them and see how we use the libraries and what we did with the MIDI programming. But in terms of resources that have sort of pre-made MIDI programming, I don't know, I'm afraid. I know there's some great people that do the sheet music analysis on YouTube, and that's really interesting, but that's obviously not the same thing. But you can sometimes use that to help transcribe stuff. But yeah, I don't know of any resources like that. I'm hoping that we can create something like that of our own in a way, and maybe just give you some, you know, resources that you can use if you're starting out or you want some references or something like that. Nice. So here's what I'm thinking here. Okay, I'm not sure exactly how we're going to do this, but let's just go in. Let's try a downer. I'm not sure if a downer is going to work, but let's just try it. This is Constrictor. We'd be left to our own devices. It's true. I don't know if that's the right tone here. Maybe. What should we do here? Let's try the sustains. Cluster sustains. Constrictor's all our kind of tension string stuff. Party at the AI office. You know, this could be cool. So let's just see if this works. I think it could work. It's pretty cool. Turn it down a bit because that's a bit too much. But, you know, we now have this kind of cool, like, lead into whatever we're going to do. Cool. I think we'll start a bit sooner. Maybe here. It's going to come in subtly. And yeah, we're definitely going to break it down in volume. fade it in to around there. Nice. At this point, we're definitely going to want to do something like, where's our Jaeger percussion? Here it is. It's a Grand Casa. Do we have Jaeger cymbals? That's what I'm looking for. Let's just take these taikos for now. And I'm going to come in here and I'm going to find, I think there's a tam-tam. I think there is. If not, there's definitely one in. Maybe there isn't. Okay. Let me just see what's in the hits. It's bound to be a tam-tam in Jaeger. I can never remember. I really should get better at knowing what's in these libraries. Moment of truth, moment of truth. There it is. Cool. So we're going to be up here in this. That's what we want. So let's rename this tam-tam. Watch me need taikos in the next one. And cool. That's pretty good to me. We will turn that down a bit. Evil Dragon hadn't answered my question too. Yes, hopefully Jan will be able to help if he does. Well, if he's on holiday, I'm going to guess he's not going to come on, but we'll see. Cool. And I'm going to just bring this down in volume. So we've sort of got this. Okay, this is where we start to get stuff going on. Now let's have a look. What else we got with Constrictor? I know we've got these violin longs. What have we got going on here? Let's have a look. So let's have a listen to these harmonics. So I'm thinking of having almost like kind of these weird ethereal strings going on. Something like this, as you will hear now once this loads up. Let's find one that we like. What's most dino like? I think that could work. Cool. So something like that. Cool. It's starting to come together. Let's take all this stuff out that we don't need anymore because we're going off on a different path. So we don't need any of this now. We're on our own journey now. Nice. And we could do the same thing with flutes. Not like that, though. That's a bit weird. I'll actually maybe do clarinets. So do clusters. Clusters are literally when it's not about tone. You're literally just creating horrible sounds. But the point of the horrible sounds is to kind of unnerve and make things sound kind of weird and cool and interesting. So let's go have a look here. So yeah, we're going to want to be in our clarinets. Very simple John Williams technique. Well, it's not just John Williams, but he uses these techniques as well all over Star Wars, and I think probably parts of Jurassic soundtrack as well. These kind of clusters. Oh, I don't want to be in the flutes. I want to be in the clarinets. Let's get rid of that. These clarinets here. So maybe something like this. Okay, yeah. So let's go back and have a little listen. Get rid of that. And we're going to go. So that's just the start for now. The sounds are slightly processed, yeah. So I'll show you very quickly what I've done. It's not a huge amount, mostly on the master stuff. Most of the instruments I do a little bit of EQ, but to be honest, it's always minimal. You can see it's just usually the same kind of thing. I'm cutting a little bit of the mids out. What that usually does is make the orchestra sound a bit bigger in a way, because it makes it sound a bit further away. You don't want to do it too much. It's all like 1 or 2 dB, but a lot of the instruments get a little bit of the mids cut out. Some of them I've low filtered just to, get some of the kind of lower end out of it. I'm also high or cutting the high frequencies of some of them too, because the actual original recording, I was listening to it when I was referencing, and it's got a slightly more traditional sound, if you like. Nucleus is very bright, which is great, but it's very malleable too. You can easily EQ it. So for some of the instruments, let's just take the trumpet. Let's go back and have a little listen. I'll show you what I mean. Let's take the trumpets. Let's do the theme somewhere around by here. Without the EQ. With just taking some of the high end out, because Jurassic Park's an old soundtrack. It was recorded, I presume, on tape in those more traditional ways. So it's not a big hybrid soundtrack like modern soundtracks are today. It's got a more traditional sound, and it's compressed slightly in the frequency range. The top end is not as top end as a lot of stuff today, and the bottom end is not quite as intense either. So that's all I'm doing with a lot of the EQ. You take it from physical score? I did, yes. I did take it all down from the physical score. I also can't show you guys this, but I can show you the cover I'm showing. My Jurassic Park physical score. These are always available to buy. And this is one of the ones I got a long time ago. There's so many scores these days. When I first started, it was so hard to get scores, and I'm pretty sure I paid lots of money for the scores I did get in the beginning. The John Williams Deluxe scores were some of the earliest ones that came out that were, the actual arrangements. They weren't other people's arrangements. These are John Williams's arrangements, sort of approved by him and taken from his sketches. So incredible to have this stuff. And yeah, these mock-ups would not be half as good if I didn't have the actual arrangements. Like I said, I sometimes feel like a bit of a fraud because it's not really me doing the work. Like same with the Head of Training Dragon last week. It's not really me doing anything. It's just I'm putting what's on the page into the door, and that's pretty much all I have to do. And then I'm doing a little bit of this stuff like this EQ here, but the EQ is not doing that much. I've got some reverb, so I'm using a few different reverbs as well. That's just to sort of put it in a bit more space. So let me just show you guys. I think I can probably show you here. If not, I will bring it up here. Oh, that's not what I wanted to do. Let's take that. There we go. So let me just show you guys. I'm using some reverbs on some of the buses so you can see. And again, small amounts of EQ. It's all tiny bits. This is probably overkill. I probably just spent too long tweaking, which is why each one's got lots of different points. Same thing here. And then some mastering. The mastering is just a multi-band compression. It's nothing too crazy. Again, nothing about this is cutting or completely changing everything that's there. I'm using a little bit of Cubase's onboard tape emulation to give it a bit of tape warmth. Tiny bit of compression, but it's very, very small amounts of compression. Limiters just to boost it up. So it's being boosted up. It's a bit quiet. So it has been processed, but not completely. If I was to take all this off, it wouldn't sound like a completely different score. In fact, let me do that and let me go back and take off. I won't take off the limiter because that'll make it much quieter. But if I take off all the mastering, for example, and then sounds pretty much the same, but with the mastering, it just gives it a bit more of a kind of hard to explain, but makes the sound a little bit fuller, but it's not changing really the sound of the orchestra that much. Translating between MIDI and scores a hooker in itself, Adam. That doesn't make it any less capable. Thank you, Ollie. Ollie's counselling me through my, but I mean it in the nicest way. I mean, obviously it's incredible fun to do these mock-ups and things, but I think the ability to compose well is the most important thing. And when you're doing mock-ups of John Powell and John Williams, it's like all the hard work's kind of been done for you. And yeah, you have to do a bit of, sort of programming and things. The other thing as well is I love working with all-in-one orchestras like Nucleus, because they've all been recorded, same space, same time, same developer, same approach. So it just gives it a uniformity. Going back to what you were asking about with mixing, yeah, you don't have to do a lot, Kev. It's because it's an all-in-one orchestra, and most of the mixing has just been about tidying up some of the muddiness here and there where there's lots of instruments on top of each other, making it sound a little bit more hyped, like a film score. But that's about it, really. So okay, let's carry on with this. So now we have to figure out where to go from here. Okay, let's think about this. Well, you know what I'm going to do first of all? Do I have Poseidon? So I have the 2 trumpets loaded. Let's change that to, I don't know, maybe something like horns, right? What Poseidon's got, which I love, are these wave motions. So let's go into the 2 horns, wave motions. Instant cinema here again. We've got clusters going on in the clarinets, clusters going on in the strings. Let's just get some low horn clusters. These will sound just instantly kind of cinematic. Let's make this classic mix. So have a listen to this. I'll play anything. Yes. That is just kind of instant. I'm not even picking chords here. I'm just playing kind of a bunch of notes. So good. Okay, let's just maybe add one of them in. Something like that, maybe. Let's just go. I think I'm just going to use those lower notes, and I'm going to make sure we've got. Okay. I'm going to bring them in a bit sooner. Let's just maybe try. So maybe. Yeah, that's better, I think. Poseidon's great because it has all these kind of wave motions built in, so all this stuff naturally swells the way you hope it would. Sounds really good. Yeah, that sounds good to me. Now I'm thinking, like John Williams, let's do something cool in the basses here. So like a little figure like this. So we're going to swell. Let's just see if that works. Excuse the terrible overlaps. Yeah, nice. So we're instantly getting these kind of clashing. Thank you, Tristan. Yeah, it's hopefully it's going to come together and be cool. So I'm instantly hearing this in the something like the bassoons as well. So we're going to need that an octave up. Like we were talking earlier on about how John Williams is always using these like basses, in these interesting ways. They're not just playing kind of root notes. They're doing these little motifs and things. That's what I'm trying in my own much more amateur way to emulate here. Again, this is the thing. That sounds really good to me. It's not legato, not really well programmed, but it's got a life to it. So I think that's going to work. And you know what? We're going to do the same thing in the solo bassoon just to really give it some energy. We can legato that. Oh, but that's not what I wanted to do. That's what I wanted to do. Nice. These woods are cool because they sort of sound like this kind of old-fashioned jungle sort of sound, like you might imagine where something like Jurassic Park is set. Yeah, cool. So, and I think if we do that in the cello as well, we're just going to get that. Oh, let's do that. This is me writing stuff in painfully slow. I can hear it going up here. What do I use on the master? Let me just show you. Cool. What are we in key switch wise here? Yeah, okay, cool. Something like that I think is going to work. Let's just take... Yeah, something like that's going to work, but that's a bit too intense on those celli. Yeah, and then maybe we would just have those ducking out pretty quickly. And then, because we don't want to, we kind of want everything gone, you know, so it's not clouding up in the way of that. Hearing that, I think. So it's all going to be there. Hello, Dwayne. Thank you for joining us. We're just writing some Jurassic Park style music. Okay, so. And of course, our low brass would have to stop before the start of those cool. For this, it's all nucleus at the moment. We've used a little tiny bit of Dolce back further in our mock-up, but that was just to accentuate a couple of lines here and there. You can see it's nearly all nucleus. And thank you very much. Yeah, at this moment in time, we're just using nucleus for the strings. Oh, and we've got constrictor as well, sorry. So they're doing the high, crazy strings. Of course, I'm going to want to bring them down as well. So now this should start to sound like it's going somewhere. Yep, cool. That's starting to come together, I think. Hello, Peter. I think he may be going up there, down to there, sorry. Let me just make sure. Ah. No wonder's not saying it. Okay. Maybe something like that, maybe up to the A instead of down to the E. This is this kind of stuff where like there's no right answers with this because we're not really in an easy key. The whole idea of this is sounding unsettling. It's not really going. Hello, Adriano. Hello from Italy. Hello from Wales. Cool. Do you know what I'm hearing here as well? Let's take the women's chorus here. There's actually quite a lot of choir. I think some synth choir as well in the original Jurassic Park score. Works really well. So what we want is something like... I am Wales based, yes, Peter. Yeah, that's I'm here in lovely sunny Wales. Maybe let's do this up here. Let's just see. Just see. Trying to work something out that works here. Don't think going up in step is working there, but you know what I'm thinking? I might stay in the G or the A flat in the bass. That might work. Yeah, it's discordant. It's a bit weird, but I think it works. Oh, cool. I actually didn't... I might have known Luke was based in Wales, but I didn't know that they were based in Wales too. We're going to have to get a Welsh composer meetup or something going. Maybe we'll do that at some point. If you guys are around, maybe we'll just try and get some kind of composer meetup going. You know, just to catch up or something. Yeah, okay, this is sort of starting to go somewhere, I think. We want those to go down as well. Waiting for my computer to save. Sorry, guys. It's, and then we want that to go down. And then maybe do the same thing and keep those bassoons. Yeah. Kind of hearing something like that in the harp at the beginning. Yeah, maybe something like that. So maybe something like a... Maybe down here. Don't know. Don't know why we've got that up there. Maybe we can get another. So we have this. Then maybe something like a. That could work, you know, that could work. At this point, we're not worrying too much about realism. Yeah, cool. I think that kind of works. Just make sure, let's make our speed a bit longer on here. So we can bring this down a bit. Ah! Cool, that started to come together, I think. What do we have going on in these clarinets? So we do the same thing here as well. So oh yeah, that's, you know, that's what we're trying to get here. You know what I'm hearing? You know what I'm hearing? I think second time around, let's call these horns waves because that's what they actually are. Let's duplicate that a second. Be lazy and just do it this way. I'm hearing, I think we've got muted trumpet waves, I think. I'm really hoping we do because I reckon they will sound great if we do. So, horns, trumpets, waves. Good start, good start. Maybe they're not muted, but it doesn't matter if they're not muted. I think we can still use them. Let's see. Oh, you know what? We could do... Yes, we have muted. Listen to that. Yes. That's what we want. So... I think something like that. I don't know if we need the top note, we'll see, but I think this is going to work well. Yes, nice. Okay, this is cool. But I'm going to make them a bit faster, so maybe like that. And then maybe we would need to sort of fill out the textures here. So what I'm maybe thinking here is, yeah, we could maybe get some tremolo viola here. That would work, I think. So there we go. What are we going to have them playing? Not sure. Yeah, I think maybe. Yeah, something like that maybe. Let's just try it. Cool. So we have a couple of bars of something going on here. Maybe start them a bit earlier here. Yeah, okay. So bring them in a bit slower. I think we can actually keep our high strings going over this now, but maybe just bring them down like this. Yeah, okay. Okay, let's go back a little bit and just see, have we bedded all this in? You know what I'm hearing here? We really need to push these. We're going to use them right back and thin them out. There's too much going on here. You can see it literally here. Okay, I think we got something that we could do here. Oh, there we go. So what do we play here? Hey, Tom. Yeah, so I can see what we're going to do here, I think. We're just going to end with some tension because we got about 20, 25, 30 minutes left. So I'm not going to get loads done, but I got an idea. So yeah. Oh, thank you, Peter. We're just at this point, we're just sort of writing a little bit of kind of Jurassic Underworld. We decided we're going to build the tension and do something kind of fun at the end. Yeah, so we're going to want to bring them in very quietly. What are we on here? I think ooze, maybe. something like that. Okay. My old contact being a bit weird there. Yes. Actually, you know what? I might do these in nucleus. We've been using nucleus so much today. Let's just use nucleus. I think it might have a more interesting sound. Yeah, we've definitely gone dinosaurs about to escape. You know, that might be a better sound for this. Yeah, I think it is. Nice. And I'm going to do on 100% reverb here. I don't think we want that. I think we're going to want something like that. This has got to be reverby because it's almost like an effect, but I'm going to sort of go to the end of that phrase there. And then we're going to have a little break, you know, like a bar, not a bar, sorry, a beat or so. And then we're going to maybe introduce some nasty stuff for our dinosaurs. Yeah, I think I know what to do here. So we're going to lower down the volume of that harp. I'm just going to do it here. Just going to play some random stuff in, and I think it's going to work. Something like that, but quiet. We really just want to... Nice. This is, you know, whatever. The truck's coming into this weird bass, and we don't know what's happening. Yeah, I think I want to change that to that instead. So there we go. And then we're going to have a little triplet bum bum bum. Something like that. I think. Oh, don't do that. Yeah, cool. Nice. Where are we? Cool. Yeah, that's good. So what do we think? Are we hitting the right tone here? Are we getting the right kind of mood for this? Anything we should add, take away, and do the same thing here? Yeah, like that. So that's all going to come off right there. That I'm hearing. And then I reckon we can get like a nice long trombone kind of waves, you know, motion going on there. That's the one, I think. Let's duplicate this, and then we'll get some really nice low. Maybe we'll do bass trombone. We'll say there's like 3 bass trombones in our orchestra or something. You know, if we were writing for Jurassic Park, we could afford 3 bass trombones if that's what we wanted. Since that's what we're dreaming about here, let's just do it. I think it's going to make a really interesting sound. Maybe we can get these muted. If we got these muted, that might be cool. Or maybe flutter. You know, that's kind of cool because it's almost like a roar, you know? So maybe. Yeah, maybe something like that. It's like an orchestral effect, you know. We're really just going for something horrible and unsettling here. So I'm going to boost the gain on these a little bit just to make them a bit more prominent. Cool. Nice, and then we're just going to fix them up. They would be sort of disappeared by about there, I think. So bring all of this down. There we go. Really want to just kind of bring them out. So I might even bring them up in volume, cheat it a little bit. Just do it this way. Bum, bum, bum. So we really just get like a big. Cool, that kind of works for me. Maybe just bring that back at that point. Maybe one of these, but like a bass instead. I think we want some kind of bass, so let's go to our basses, downers. Never feel bad, Dwayne. I've done it all the time. I do play stuff in sometimes, but I write stuff in so much because when I started, I didn't have a keyboard for years, and I just got used to writing stuff in. That could work, something like that. Again, we're almost like we're cheating this a bit here because we have basses already. Maybe we can bring them out and yeah, something like that. So bring them back a bit sooner. Say they start there. We'll bring our basses out at that point. So we'll be kind of fairly realistic. I agree. I do like playing in, but I'm such a bad player that I spend 30 seconds playing in and 4.5 minutes having to quantize and move everything around. Usually it's just quicker for me to do it this way. I do play things in a bit more when I'm working speedily, but I like working this way. And I feel like because you guys can't see me playing, it might be a little bit easier to watch what I'm doing if I do it this way than if I just play it all in. Yeah, I mean, that's cool, right? Now we have this little figure. Yeah, and I'm just going to bring it in even sooner than that because I really just want this to end on this beat here. Yeah, so somewhere like that. So let me just double check where that's supposed to end. Yeah, so just around there, I think. Cool. Okay, let's have a listen to that section again, then we'll move forward. Yeah, kind of come together. What I need to do is bring these violins off a little bit more. I'm just going to cheat it with volume again, but they're sort of coming off a bit quick. Then this is going to be a little bar 2/4, almost like a silent 2/4. We actually have some I forgot we have tempo stuff here, but that's fine. Let's just bring that there. Did I say 2/4? So there we go. 2/4, and then we'll maybe go back to 4/4. There. And you'll see why I'm doing that now. So yeah, okay. I think we don't want quite so much. Went a bit weird then, sorry guys. Let me just do a quick save just in case something's going badly wrong. But I think it was just my mouse being a bit sticky. Thank you, Nishane, and thank you, Dwayne. Yeah, it's always fun to do this kind of underscore stuff. Dream about if you were getting to do some Jurassic Park score. So what I'm hearing here is constrictor, basses, and then we should have atonal shorts. Let's try the atonals. This is what I'm kind of hearing, which we can just end our piece with. So yeah, I'm hearing this kind of thing. So we've got let's have a little listen to how that sounds. Yeah, biff. So we need what we got? So I'm hearing, yeah. It's gonna be, let's take this out because we don't want this tempo stuff. So, oh. Something like this. You'll see how this is all going to come together, hopefully. Okay. And then we're going to want some nice, same thing going on here. Quiet though. Yep, same thing here. Bum, bum. Cool. Now I'm going to take, I don't know, just some Dolce spiccatos from maybe the cellos. We should have them somewhere. Let's take a little look. Let's just show all our tracks here because we've got quite a lot good to go. So yeah, something like that. I'm going to play these in. Let's do some playing in. Something like that. Okay. Let's just maybe, not Dolce, let's just change maybe these to maybe the sub-pont stabs. That sounds pretty good to me, I think. What do we have? Yeah. Okay, nice. So now let's go back to maybe the random stabs even. I think the overpressure stabs work best. Yeah, cool. Cool. Now you can see my playing is not the best. So this is where I have to come in and quantize. Okay, so let's have a little listen to this section so far. Just get something going on. And then I'm maybe hearing something like, let's go to our viola spiccatos for Dolce. They sound great as well. Hearing something. Something like this. Something like that, I think. Maybe not quite that. Maybe instead we'll do half time it. Yeah, that sounds pretty good. That would stay the same. Just keep going with that idea. So and that's where we maybe bring in not that one. Something like that, I think. Try and work it as we go. Cool. Maybe we won't do that in the violas. Maybe we just kind of end it with a big build up. So let's just keep this going. Okay, we'll just keep it going for a couple more bars. Just sort of bring it there. A lot of this has been nucleus, yeah. Pretty much the entire thing. I'll show you the whole thing. We'll go through the whole thing at the end. And almost everything in the beginning is nucleus. Here we're using a few more libraries. We're using a bit of Dolce, a bit of Constrictor, a bit of Poseidon as well. But a lot of it has been nucleus. All of this stuff here is nucleus. Have a tiny bit of Dolce just doubling nucleus violins, but it's not doing a lot. This is all nucleus pretty much. This is now all nucleus here. And then as we get further in, this is still all nucleus. Now we're changing some different libraries here. Just have to fix up this here. Oh. There we go. That's better. Keep these going on. It's all pretty easy from this point. Yeah, so. Oh, great, Nishan. Yeah, make sure you put it in our Discord in the self promo. Let us know where it is, where we can all see it. Now, all I'm going to do is just build this up bit by bit. We've had all of this stuff. This is Talos. No, this is Nucleus Low Brass. I keep saying Talos, but it's actually Nucleus. So this is the low brass from Nucleus. So I'm going to come in here, steal from our celli. I'm going to bring them in around there. I'm just going to sort of build up this moment of dread, and then we'll call it a day, because we could just get lost writing this forever, which I would love to do, but yeah, no, so I'm going to keep them where they were. This is clusters. So at this point, these things don't need to make any tonal sense, right? Sometimes as a composer, you'll just instruct the players, just play any note they like, or play all notes in sequence between maybe like a C and an E. It's just big clusters of sound. But when an orchestra does it, it sounds awesome. Yeah, I know what you mean, Dwayne. So this is where we bring in maybe some Nucleus trombones. Oh. And I'm just going to copy them in here. Okay, so let's see. We're not quite there yet, but we've got another 10 minutes or so. Getting there bit by bit. What do we do with our trombones here? Just keep all of those the same. I think it's just going to be more. Okay, cool. And we're going to take our harmonic clusters and make sure they go all the way to the end. Something like that. You know what I'm going to do? I think I do know what I want here as we build this up. Is I'm going to come into Chorus FX and we have some cool risers. I'm going to find one of the risers and we're just going to get a riser put in at the end. And we're just going to layer up a few more things and we should be pretty much done. It's just a little kind of underscorey section. So I need to find the risers. Let's take a quick look. Chorus FX. Women risers, ensemble risers. Maybe let's try that. I think that could work. I think that could work. I'm going to record it out. Nice. That's really cool. So I'm going to combine that with a riser, I think. I just like to record stuff like this out. It just makes it easier to use. But I think that's a cool texture to have in there. We'll put a bit of reverb in there. Maybe not quite as much as we were using for the pad, but we just want to keep that one nice and big. So let's just take a quick look where we want this to end. So we want it to end there. Something like that. So just try. Something like that, I think. Nice. What we do here is something like a maybe something like that. Something like that, maybe. Let's just play it in. Yeah, so maybe at the beginning there. Okay, let's get this in. Okay, just delete that and go again. something like that. I don't know. Figure it out, but you can kind of see what I'm trying to do there. Double it in the trumpets at the end. Octave higher, but only at the end. Maybe right there. And then right at the end there, we've got on legato here. Right at the end, we'll go to sustain. Something like this. Good old-fashioned kind of clustery chords. They don't make a lot of tonal sense, but they sound cool. Yeah, nice. Just gotta find that curve that's right. That'll do. Okay, let's build up this a bit more now. So maybe yeah, I think something like this. Let's just record it in. I know it's going to be something like that. So delete. Nice. That's going to give us our lovely tension riser at the end there. Oh, let's just export that to audio again. Makes it easy to work with. Build up a couple more layers, and we won't get this 100% finished, but I think it'll be pretty cool, pretty much there. Something like that. Okay, let's have a little listen. That to end there. Yeah, these effects are cool. They're all in Chorus Effects, which is just a great little library for this kind of stuff. So I think we're just going to want the violas to provide the momentum here. Let's just go back a bit. Something like that. This is the reveal of our first dinosaur, the Audio Imperiosaurus, the new terrifying addition to the dinosaur arsenal. Well, I'm just going to do some fun stuff on the harp now. Just going to play some stuff in. It's going to get crazier as we go along. It's not going to be very idiomatic, but it's going to work, I think. So I'm going to want to start around there. Yeah, so right on that 53, I think. Keep missing it. This is why I don't play stuff in. Let's just do it. Absolutely perfect harp playing. That's exactly what a harpist would do all day long. think not. But hey, it's all about texture here. So. Now what I think we want to do is good old-fashioned John Williams style chords here in the clarinets just to pad things out. I love it. Cool. We are almost there, I think. I think we're going to want... Oh. You know what? That might even work, just doing that. Change at that point there. They're a bit quiet, but that's okay. Again, beautiful player, but at this point, I don't think we really care now. Here. Just filling in that upper texture. Could probably do it trills, but let's not worry about that for now. Okay, I think we're there. Nearly there. Nearly there. The audio Imperiosaurus is in the back of the cage, in the dark. There's someone there, Scarlett Johansson or someone, you know, with the light. Hello, who's in there? I don't know why I should be asking who's in there, because it's obviously not going to be a person, it's a dinosaur, but you know. This is what this scene is for. As you can see, I'm maybe more suited to music than writing scripts, but let's just get that roll back in there. Make sure that comes in at the right time. So it's way later than that. We're going to end with that flourish. Move that up to there. Yeah, nice. Nice, nice, nice. Okay. And you know, the obvious thing to do here, just to make our lives easier, is this. I won't ramp it. I'll use steps, because ramping can sometimes cause some issues. What we're doing here is we'll finesse this a little bit, but we're just making everything go slightly faster. This is what would happen in orchestral music, right? It would get faster almost certainly up to around there. So yeah, let's spread this out a bit, because we don't want to go too soon with this. Maybe one final one there. We don't have to worry too much about where it's getting faster. Just the idea is it's getting faster. Maybe not quite that. We don't want to go too crazy, right? We're not back to Mario Kart here. We want to keep it sort of within the realms of decency, but that was kind of working. Oh, we just need to bring that back a bit. Yeah, we just want it there. For this section, I think, no, we're using a couple of things. We're using nucleus for the low brass here. So this is nucleus. This is all Jaeger, but it could be Nucleus. It's exactly the same for these particular articulations. The Poseidon stuff are these wave motions here. So let me show you just this stuff here. All this kind of cool wave-like stuff. All these weird sounds. Really nice stuff. Let's just bring those clarinets up a bit. Make them later in the mix. So they're kind of quite an important part here. Oh, thank you, Dwayne. I'm not sure I can quite get to his level, but we can sort of imitate it a bit. I think we would just have a nice... Yeah, okay. Maybe something there. Yeah, maybe that. Oh, wait for this to save. And then I think we'll have the little choir bed in here, which gets taken over by the effects choir, but that's fine. Yeah, we're sort of missing that. Cool, that sounds pretty good to me. Let's just delete that little section there, glue all this together. Okay, we're almost there, but I think what we want to do is I actually think the trombones would come in as well. Right? Maybe not right away, but eventually maybe an octave lower. So maybe sort of here. Let me just have a quick listen to that. And then maybe there. Right, this is pure dinosaur stuff now, right? I think maybe the lower octave just for the very end. I think it's a bit too much too soon. Just ramp that up like that. We'll just do a final fix of these. That's sort of more like it, I think. So let's just do one or two more things. I think we've got another 2 minutes, then we're done pretty much. Do you know what? Yeah, you know. This could work. This could work. Let's go back, go back, go back. Oh, that's not working. Here we go. Maybe it's because I've changed this. We don't want left locator. I want to go there. Okay. Just go. That's it. We want our good old-fashioned dinosaur movie. Nice little tubular bell, and I think, this sounds weird, but I actually think, yeah, you know what? quite John Williams, a little celeste in there, I think. You know, again, it's like mixing that childlike thing with the horror, you know, that's quite a John Williams thing. Quite a Steven Spielberg thing as well. At the end, player just goes crazy. Why not? We get some nice... Okay, I think we're going to kind of call that nearly done. One more thing I think I want to do, and then I think we're going to call it done. I think we need in violin 2 upper tremolos. Really just fill out that frequency spectrum. Really just get everything aggressive. Dolce's got really cool aggressive... Ooh, actually, it's got sol pont. I'll have to reload it, but that's fine. So ignore that. That's all fine. We'll have to wait a second for this to move. This is just my old template where nothing was working right. There we go. We got lovely second violins, tremolo, sol pont. They'll load properly now. Sol pont is played near the bridge. Very aggressive, nasty. Hear it? Eesh. But great for this, I think. Okay, you know what? I think we're going to call that about done. It's definitely not perfect, but I think we got the vibe. Should we go through the whole thing? Let's listen to the whole thing. Start off with a beautiful Jurassic Park theme and then get to my slightly less polished underscore. Let's just take a look at this tracks with data, so we make this nice and clean for everyone. Let's just go through the whole thing. Beginning part, almost entirely nucleus. We have a little tiny bit of Dolce in 1 or 2 sections, but 95%, 98% nucleus. And afterwards, bit of Poseidon, bit of Dolce, bit of Constrictor. The Audio Imperiosaurus lunges out, cut Jonathan Bailey in a field somewhere. You know what they do. After the tension scene, you go to the next scene. Bit of exposition, bit of light relief. There we go. So that was our little Jurassic Park. Obviously, first part, mostly nucleus. The great John Williams. That's why it sounds so amazing. Had a little look at that. Did a few small tweaks just to make it a little bit more realistic with Dolce, but it's all pretty straightforward stuff because I just think it sounds so good in nucleus. I think nucleus really captures that kind of thing well. And then we added a bit of underscore at the end, just a bit of tension, almost at the start of a scene or something, a small scene. From a film. That was good fun, and we used a couple of other libraries there. We'll go back to just chatting, we will wrap up, and then we will say goodbye. Cool. So thank you so much for joining me today. As I said, this is one of my favorite themes. I could dig into this for hours and hours, but I realized it would just get way too geeky and boring and music analytical, and we're here to make some music and hang out. So thank you very much for hanging out with me today. As I said, this theme's so special to me because of childhood, also because it's the theme that got me involved with Audio Imperia as well, which is cool. And that's led me all the way to here, creating a theme for our Audio Imperiosaurus. Who would have thunk it? Who would have thunk we could get here? Yeah, thank you so much for joining me, guys. It's been so much fun. We'll be back next week. I'm not sure what we're going to be doing yet, but I think it's going to be fun, whatever we do. Nishane, thank you so much for joining us. Definitely let us know about your video. I'm looking forward to seeing that as sound as I can. Right Sound Studio, thank you. I'm really glad you enjoyed it. Yeah, as I said, hopefully it'll be useful for you guys. And we did a bit of composing at the end, so hopefully there'll be some things to take away. Yeah, thank you so much, guys, for joining me. This is always good fun, especially when we get to do some John Williams stuff. I don't think there's anything else to announce or tell you guys just yet, but yeah, I'll be back next week. And if there's anything then, I will let you know. Until then, whatever you're doing, wherever you are, happy composing, have a good time. Do speak to us in the Discord. Do subscribe if you're not subscribed already. Thank you, Nishane. I will definitely check that out as soon as I can. Yeah, so do join us in the Discord if you're not already. Do subscribe if you're not already. And do join us on Tuesdays. We always have a good time. If you have any suggestions, any ideas, anything you'd like to see, let us know. But yeah, in the meantime, guys, have a great day, whatever you're doing, wherever you are. And I shall